Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible Equinety stories and how Equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast. We're going to swing down into some serious horse country in Weatherford, Texas. We've got Judy Collins here on the Equinety Podcast this week. Judy, welcome to the Equinety Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me tell my story.
Oh, absolutely. We're excited as always. And what caught my eye, we run a lot of Facebook advertising. And I believe it was you had posted a comment because you were dealing with an older retired horse, 30 years old, and dealing with the sinus infection, and you had asked if we thought this product would help. I think the short answer was yes, because it's always going to help with recovery, but tell us exactly what was going on with Hank and what you were dealing with for quite a while.
Well, Hank got an abscessed tooth, and we had no idea he had it. He had not gone off feed. He had not acted sick. And then we came home one night from a roping, and he had discharge coming out of one side of his nose, and it smelled terrible. It reeked. You could smell it the minute you walked into the barn. And we FaceTimed my son and his wife, who are vets here in Weatherford, and they said, well, he has an abscessed tooth. Bring him into the clinic. We'll take care of it. We took him to the clinic, and they couldn't get the tooth pulled, and they did an x-ray of his sinus cavity, and it was full of infection. And so they ended up having to do a surgery. And they did the surgery. They kept him for a week and treated him there at the clinic, and then we brought him home. And in this process, they had drilled a hole in between his eyes on his forehead for this infection to drain out, and then we had to take a tube and put it in that hole and flush those sinuses out, and we did that for about a month and a half until the hole finally closed up, and he was on strong antibiotics the whole time this was happening. And as soon as he went off the antibiotics, about 2 or 3 weeks, we started getting the discharge again and the strong odor. And so we just have to keep putting him on antibiotics, and they tried multiple brands of antibiotics. And as soon as he would go off, it would come back. So then we ultimately ended up doing a second surgery, and this time they put a port in his forehead, and we still had to go back to all the flushing. And we did that for about another month, 3 weeks to a month. And then they took all that out. And again, we just were constantly battling this sinus infection. And as soon as he would go off antibiotics, it would start back up again. And so we did this for like 2 years, on and off with antibiotics. We did a hair analysis with a vet in Pilot Point, and had supplements made specifically for him to help build his immune system up and so on. And during all that, we were still battling this. It just wasn't going away. And I had seen an ad on Facebook for Equinety, and I messaged you guys, and I asked, do you think, this is what we're dealing with, do you think this will help? And your response was certainly, you thought it would help. So I was willing to give it a try, and we tried it, and we bought the big tub, which is a 90-day supply, and about 60 days into it, I started seeing a difference. And he had been on antibiotics the first month with it. We had taken him off, and I would say by the end of the 90 days, we were at a point where there was no antibiotics at all anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, we were very impressed. That was the only thing we had changed in his routine, was the Equinety.
Well, and all of the just all of that time and the surgeries, and what was his attitude and demeanor like going through all this?
Well, he's one of those super calm, super easy to work with horses. He was great for us to work with, but I have to tell you, towards the end of us sticking tubes in his forehead and flushing out that sinus cavity, he'd had about enough of us. I mean, he was not fighting us, but he was beat down.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He was he wasn't himself. He was just kind of beat down emotionally and physically.
Sure.
Because it was taking a toll on his body, and he had lost some weight. And, with an older horse, when they start losing weight, it's really difficult to get it back on. And anyway, he has done a complete turnaround. He's healthy. His hair coat's healthy. In fact, we had a friend out here the other day who's a retired vet, and he couldn't believe it. He goes, "Man, I can't believe how good that horse looks." He said, usually the first thing you can tell that they're going downhill is their hair coat. And he said, his hair coat looks great. He said, he looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that's probably one of the most common things that people notice when they put their horses on Equinety. And typically within 30 days is a softer, shinier coat. And whether, so it is definitely one of the things that it helps with, not to mention this huge recovery that he was having to go through in a sinus infection, and oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So now,
he's doing great.
So you were able to get him through all of that, and then, and as you told me earlier, he was being retired. It was more for the grandkids to ride around on, but he was having some other issues with his hooves and things. Tell us about that.
Yes, he had been diagnosed with navicular about 10 years ago, and we had him in special shoes, and then he developed a ringbone. And he was mobile, and we just kept him comfortable, and he was retired, and we were spending like $280 with the farrier every time we had him shod, just in these special shoes and stuff to keep him comfortable and keep him moving. And anyway, in the process of using the Equinety for the sinus infection, not even thinking about the other, we just assumed we were going to have that till the day he died. We started noticing his feet were getting better. They were getting stronger. His hooves were growing a little faster. And the farrier just kept working with him. And 3 weeks ago, the farrier was here, and he said he's ready to go barefoot. And so he's barefoot now, and he hasn't. And I told the farrier, I said, well, I'm going to have you on speed dial because I'm not sure he's going to be able to do this. And he said, just call me. I'll be there. I'll come, as soon as I can get there, and we'll put shoes back on him if we have to. It's been 3 weeks, and he has not taken a lame step. And he's out in the pasture running with the other horses. And, he's on 25 acres of pasture with the other horses, and he's doing fine.
Feeling great. Huh.
Yeah, he's feeling young again.
Wow. Well, for those who are tuning in for the first time, maybe you've just learned about the Equinety product, you've kind of seen it around or heard a little bit, but don't know that much about it. What it is, it's 100% pure amino acids. There's no fillers, no sugars, no starches, and there's no loading dose. Serving size is 5.2 grams, which is not quite a tablespoon. Which, by the way, Judy, I didn't ask you this, but were you surprised at how little a serving size was?
I was.
Yeah.
I was. I kept thinking, there's no way that little bit of stuff is going to work. But I did it, and it did. It proved me wrong.
Yeah. Well, so the amino acids in this product, they're specifically combined and formulated to stimulate the pituitary gland, which is the master gland in the body. And that's what releases the necessary hormones, which help the body heal at a cellular level. So in this case, although you were specifically looking for a product to help with the sinus infection and not knowing that it was going to help with the ringbone and navicular, the hoof growth, and, we try to tell people all the time, this is not a miracle supplement. It, although borders on some miraculous things sometimes, but used in combination with a great farrier, as in this case, it's a great combination because it's helping those hooves to grow faster, which allows the farrier something to work with. And it helps speed up the process with everything. So that's really great. Now, tell us what Hank is doing these days. You also told me that he had a little bit of a comeback. Tell us about that.
Yes, he got pulled out of retirement about a month ago to go to NRS to perform a wedding, and friends of ours were getting married, and they got married during the roping. And what they did is, in between the different numbered ropings, they had everybody stay in the arena on horseback, and then they came in on horseback, and my husband performed the wedding ceremony on Hank. So he had his horse Hank, and Hank got to be pulled out of retirement, go back to the roping pin one last time, and perform a wedding.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, man. Well,
he was wonderful.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like. I bet that was quite a sight to see, that a wedding like that.
Yeah, it was, and everybody was shocked. They're like, he's 30 years old. There's no way that horse is 30 years old. We're like, yeah, he is.
Loving life now. So,
yeah.
So after you saw the benefits that the Equinety gave Hank there, you also have 4 other horses that are active. Yes. So you decided to put the Equinety product on those horses. Tell us about those horses just briefly, and why you decided to put them on, and what changes have you noticed in those horses?
Okay. Well, we have 4 horses. 2 are rope horses. One's my husband's head horse. The other one is his heel horse. And they go to competitions, and he ropes pretty hard on them. The last few months, we haven't been able to go to a lot of ropings because we moved, and just the process of moving, he hasn't got to do as much as normal. But because he does haul them quite a bit and go to the practice pen quite a bit, he decided for maintenance he wanted them on it. And so and I'm like, well, I'm putting mine on it too. So we have all 4 horses on it. Yep. And we just keep them on it. And one of our horses, we have a paint horse that's his hair is extremely shiny. I mean, just since he's been on it, he glows. And at one of the team ropings, he was warming up, and he was in the outdoor arena, and the drill team was there that was going to perform and do the national anthem. And the girls rode up to him, and they said, "What kind of shampoo are you using on your horse?" And he said, "Water."
Oh, that's funny.
And they just couldn't believe how shiny that horse was. But it was the Equinety. Yeah. I mean, that's what they all shine like that now. Wow.
Yeah. And has he noticed, recovery, stamina? These are performance horses that are in pretty good shape. So yeah. What kinds of things has he noticed?
Well, he has noticed that their stamina, for one thing, they can go out there and chase 4 or 5 steers, 6 steers, and they're not even breathing hard. They're just muscled up, and their stamina is really great. Also, from the recovery standpoint, he wanted to make sure that their muscles and stuff were recovering faster, which is one of the things the Equinety says it does. Mm-hmm. And that was the main reason he put them on there, and also hoping to prevent any future problems with navicular or anything like that.
Sure. Awesome. Well, I tell you what, Judy, it's been a pleasure having you on. And for anybody that's tuning in, and again, maybe hearing this for the first time, maybe they're on the fence about giving it a try, would you have any advice or anything to say to them to maybe get them to go ahead and give it a try for themselves?
I would recommend anybody that has any kind of health issues with their horses, hoof issues with their horses, to put them on it. It's the best money you will ever spend, and it's not a gimmick. It really works, but it is the best money you can spend to invest in your horse's health.
Great. I agree with that. So awesome.
We love it.
Yeah, we're blessed. It is an amazing product. So, well, Judy Collins out of Weatherford, Texas, thank you so much for taking the time to share your stories here on the Equinety Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.